It's Thursday, August the 30th. Lake level's 908.5, about 7 feet below pool. And got the effects of the hurricane coming in tonight, so we're supposed to get 2 to 5 inches of rain. So we'll just have to see what that does to the fishing and the lake level. But the water temperatures, about 79 degrees or so in the morning, getting up to about 80 to 81. Now I've been talking about, like last week, I've been starting to get a football jig bite, and it seems to be getting more and more consistent. And along with that football jig bite, I'm starting to get a crankbait bite also. A lot of the stuff I'm fishing on the crankbaits, main lake, secondary points, almost kind of like a springtime bank, just outside of the spawning areas. And I'm looking for any kind of little swing, like if there's a pocket off the main lake, if it's got a little cut into it, it's got deep water, especially where it goes from gravel to chunk rock. They seem to be more on the gravel or just inside where, right before it turns to the ledge rock, to the chunkier rock. And they've been pretty shallow. A lot of the jig bite I've been getting anywhere from, as shallow as 5 feet out to about 15 to 18 feet. So I started getting bit a little bit shallower, and I started throwing crankbait some. I've been throwing a DT10 and a wigglewort, and I've been picking up a few fish on that. Now that seems to be working, pretty good up until about 9:30, 10, especially if I got a little breeze. Now I don't know what's going to happen for sure with the lake level. We sure need the water. It's not going to hurt the lake any to come up a bunch. And, there's still a pretty consistent drop shot bite going. But the fish I'm catching on the football jig and the crankbait, they're all mixed. I'm catching some smallmouths, some Kentuckys, and some largemouths. And they're a little bit better quality fish than the drop shot fish. It seems like most of the drop shot fish, you catch a keeper, it's about a 2-pounder. But I'm starting to catch some, 2.5-pound Kentuckys and smallmouths, and an occasional 3.5-pound largemouth. Now the jigs I've been throwing, I've been throwing several different colors. A lot of the crawdads that I've seen, the fish are just loaded with crawdads. You can feel them in their bellies. You can see them, the pinchers and some of the claws in them. They're feeding up real heavy on the crawdads right now, but there's a lot of dark green in them. So I've been throwing a lot of green pumpkin. This particular one's got a little purple flash, and I've got a Chompers twin tail for a trailer. And I've been throwing, depends on how deep I'm fishing. Normally I'm throwing a 1/2 ounce, because I can throw that up into about 5 to 6 feet of water and keep it on the bottom real good up to about 15 to 18. Another one that's been working real good is the green pumpkin and orange, and then one called a Magic Craw. And these are all pig sticker jigs. Magic Craw is kind of similar to a watermelon candy, and I've got a Zoom Speed Craw rigged up on it. Now the way I'm fishing it, I'm kind of changing it from day to day. I was just dragging the bait, almost like a Carolina rig. But I found the other day, when I'd go to make a cast, I'd reel up, and I missed the fish. So I did it, I made another cast, and then I went to reel up, and I actually caught one while I was swimming it in. So, and I couldn't get bit just dragging it, so what I started doing was just hopping the jig, about 3 or 4 feet off the bottom and letting it go down. And it seemed like I caught them yesterday doing that. Now the day before I had to be dragging it. And I'm fishing the crankbait in the same places. And the colors of the crankbait that I'm throwing, just pretty much all crawdad patterns. This B38. I think this is a 37. And this got a little green with a little orange on the belly. I like something with a little orange in it. And something I do on my wiggleworts is I always change out my hooks. If you notice, when you buy them out of the package, they got good hooks on them. They got VMC hooks. But from time to time they tangle. They get hooked up. What I do on the front is I put a number 6 short shank on the front, and then I use a number 4 short shank on the back. A little bit bigger hook on the back. I want that bigger hook on the back because in the case of a short strike, I want a little bit wider gap hook in the back. And this way here, the hooks don't tangle. So, and even on a regular wigglewort, they don't tangle that much. Maybe every 15 casts or something like that. But I'm always afraid that might be the cast that the fish decides to bite. And going with that number 4 hook is a little bit bigger than the standard number 5s that come on the wiggle work. Another bait that's been working a little bit for me is a Rapala DT10 in this crawdad pattern here. Now these I'm throwing on a 7.5 foot luge rod, real limber rod. I'm throwing 10-pound line. Now anytime you're throwing a crankbait or anything with treble hooks, you usually want a real soft rod, and you don't want to set the hook like you do on a jig. You just kind of want to do a sweep. Just keep the pressure on the fish. A lot of times, you think that the fish were just slapping at the bait. Well, what happens a lot of times is you get them hooked up on the front hook. Then when you're fighting the fish, the back hook hooks them outside the gill or on outside his mouth, and the front hook comes off. So I think that's what happens a lot of times. I don't think them fish are actually slapping at it. I think you're getting them hooked up on the front hook, but by the time you get them in the boat, the back hook is hooked another part of them. Now on the jig, I've been throwing, it depends. If you're throwing a spinning rod, you can probably get by with like 8-pound line with like a 3/8 ounce football jig. And usually want to throw a 6.5, 7 foot rod on it with it. Now on a bait caster, anywhere from 12 to 15 pound on the 1/2 ounce. And if I have to back out a little deeper, I'll go to a 5 ounce. The wind's blowing, I'll even go to a 3/4. But I use fluorocarbon line on my bait casters. Now I don't like fluorocarbon on my spinning rods. I actually don't think fluorocarbon is designed for spinning rods. You just get too much memory. So usually if I'm using the spinning rod, I'll use monofilament. And what a lot of people are doing is they're using like a braid or spider wire and then doing an 8 or 10 foot leader with monofilament or fluorocarbon that way too, so they got a little bit better feel. But on my line size, like say 12 to 15, I find that on a 15 pound, I'm not giving anything up as far as the feel, and I actually think I get better hookups with the little bit heavier, even going to 17-pound line. And I don't have to worry about breaking the fish off. Another thing that's bad about that fluorocarbon, I don't think it takes the abrasion that a lot of the monos do, and where we're fishing in the rocks all the time, you want to keep a close eye right above the knot, after you've been fishing that jig for a little bit to see if it's got any rough spots in it. So, like I say, I don't know what the rain's going to do, how much the lake is going to come up, but we're going fishing tomorrow, weather providing, if the wind doesn't get too crazy, and I'm actually looking forward to it, with that frontal conditions coming in. I'm hoping I catch some on a spinnerbait. Last week I talked about fishing the spinnerbait in the trees. I haven't got that to work yet. Most of my bite has been on the bottom. And what we're going to do next week, I talked about doing some stuff on my Lowrance, showing you how to set your electronics up as far as your sonar and your GPS. And we're going to start that next week, along with the fishing report. We're going to do another little deal. Each week we're going to do a little segment. I'm going to just start out on how to set your unit up, how to set the sensitivity, the ping speed, the charge speed, and just some little things I do that help me. And then we'll go through the GPS with a few different segments, the frequencies to run it on, as far as on the side scan and the down scan. We'll go over some settings I use on the GPS. And we're going to try to incorporate some on the water stuff with it after we do that. So, till next week, good luck, good fishing.